What I thought I'd share with you on productivity is how we think about how we run our business. And then we run it to a set of principles, and we ask people in our business then to apply those principles. So hopefully then everybody can take a little bit out of whatever is relevant to you. So we have 10, and then I think some questions at the end. So number one is people are amazing. People make the difference. Productivity for us is all about people, and they can do amazing things. But we also think that the way that we think about that is that the business has responsibilities, and people have responsibilities rather than a job. And so the way that I explain that to people in the business is like the story of two 11-year-olds going to school. So let's just call them both Johnny for simplicity. So the first little Johnny goes to school, and he is passionate for whatever reason. I wasn't very good at school, but he is passionate about history. So he maintains that interest in history for his whole career through to being 16. He talks to as many old people as he can. He reads books. He watches the Discovery Channel. He plays Risk. He reenacts battles. He does all sorts of things. Anything that is related to history, he does it, all the way through to being 16. His chance, I believe, of getting an A when he gets to being 16 in his GCSEs is pretty good. The second little Johnny is a normal kid who at 11 is reasonably ambivalent about history. But he's lucky, so hopefully everybody had one of these. He had a teacher who lit the lesson up for him in Technicolor, HD, 4K, curved TVs now. Whatever it might be that they don't broadcast in. And reenacted that and brought people's characters to life, whether it's people like Churchill or whoever it is, but really explained to him and brought the lesson to life and made it interesting and inspired him to be interested in the subject. And that second little Johnny had that same teacher all the way through to being 16. I think his chance of getting an A when he does his GCSEs is pretty good. Most people seem to agree with that. And so the formula that we try and create as a business is extremely simple. I want to recruit the first Johnny who is just fundamentally interested in the business. And then we take on the role in a non-patronizing way of being the teacher. So we take very seriously our responsibility to create the environment for them to be inspired, for them to be interested in the business, for them to want to think differently about things. Because if the first child had the second child's teacher, when he gets to 16, he's going to get an A, whatever it is by then, probably star, 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 star. So the formula for that, in terms of productivity, it isn't 10% or 20% or 30% more productive. It's 5, 10, 20 times more productive. And linked to that, I have a formula which is you make a lot more money, generally, as a scorecard, using that than you do with those. Because these things are quite restrictive. And so when you apply the two Johnnies formula to people that are using their brains and thinking about things, then if they're inspired to think much bigger and much better and more creatively because they care about it, then they will just be phenomenally more productive. And it is not about money. You cannot pay people to care. They either care or they don't. So number one, people are amazing. Number two, always explain why. So I have a phrase in our business which is, when I am sick and tired of saying something, everybody else may, and only may, just, and only just be getting it. And so keep the message really simple and keep explaining it. And the story that we use to explain that to people is three guys building a wall. And they're lined up, and they're three blokes, and the walls are all at the same height, and to an observer, the walls all look identical. And so you say to the first guy, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm laying brick." And you say to the second guy, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm building a wall." And you say to the third guy, what are you doing? And he says, I'm building a cathedral. And the important point is, for the third guy, somebody, whoever it was, took the time to explain to him his part in the organization. So if you want them to care, you need to explain why they should care. You need to talk to them about the bigger picture, because somebody that understands his role in the cathedral is just going to do it with more care and passion than somebody that's just been told to lay bricks. But actually, that quite often has a hump of investment of time and energy that a lot of people, frankly, can't be bothered to put into people. But when we do it with people and we do it, you know, if I could spend 90% of my time doing that, it probably wouldn't be enough. And the returns that we get on that are absolutely huge. So, always explain why. Number 3 is focus obsessively on the customer. There's only one person in our business that pays the bills. Only one, and that is the customer. And that should be the same, I think, in every single business. And if it's not, then you probably need to have a think about redefining who the customer is of the business, even if it's an internal customer or whatever it is. And I think that when you think about productivity, I think about step change. So a lot of people will take where they are and the sort of comical, pathetic budgeting process that we adopt generally as companies, which is what can I get away with increasing where we are from to. So there's a negotiation that might start off at 10%, and for all the economic reasons or this or that, will be scaled back to 7%, and then it'll be this, and it's just this tedious negotiation that goes on. So where we start is, what's possible? So our phrase internally is, if Carlsberg did, how would they do it? Aside from the quality of the beer. The marketing's amazing. So if Carlsberg were going to do it in an unconstrained world, what would they do and how would they do it? And then you create that as the destination, and then you work back from that of a plan from how you get from there to there, rather than just how do we get 1% or 2%. And sometimes you can aim for 500% bigger and end up at 450 or end up at 80. I've nearly always found that it's more than if you start and try and build out. So the way that we look at that in terms of being obsessively focused on the customer is, what would the customer want in that Carlsberg world? Because if you align the planets and get the world perfect for the customer, it's just quite amazing what can happen. And it's amazing how many businesses don't go and ask their customers what they would like, or what's good, or what's bad. What do we do well? I tend to find that most people are nervous about asking the stupid question of a customer, and in my experience, when you do go and ask those stupid questions, people really appreciate the fact that you did, and you tend to learn a lot from it. So focus obsessively on the customer. Number 4 is stay focused on what you do and don't be a generalist. So being a generalist works in certain businesses, but I am a big fan of know what you're good at and stick to it. So don't actually like the word, but as an entrepreneur who sort of started a business and we've had some reasonable growth, along that journey, loads of opportunities present themselves to you. And so what you say no to is often more valuable and more important, I think, than what you say yes to. So I think that the best businesses in the world are defined by what they choose not to do, rather than necessarily what they choose to do. And I always use the best example of that in the world as Apple, as a business. Because they were the world's, until recently, the world's most valuable business. And when you actually look at how many products they make, it's tiny. When you look at how many products they could put their logo onto, frankly, they could probably put their logo on that and it would sell. A lot of people would buy it just because it had Apple on it. And so the discipline that they display in their business on being focused, I think reaps them huge rewards, both in their business knowing what it's about and in the customer knowing what they're about. So stay focused. Number 5 is don't outsource a core competence. Recruitment companies never like me when I get to this point, so apologies to any recruitment companies. But I have a view that nobody cares about your business like you do. I know they all tell you they do, but they fundamentally don't. And when they've left that meeting or beauty parade or whatever it is, they'll go and tell somebody else they care loads about their business too. And so what we try and do is we try and keep all the core competencies that affect the service that we can deliver to a customer in-house, whether that is IT or whether that is recruitment. So if you go back to my point number one on people are amazing, there can't be anything more fundamental than getting amazing people in your business. So why wouldn't you do that yourselves? So that's why I always use recruitment as one of the key examples of it. So don't outsource a core competence. Number 6 is structural advantage. So this was something I picked up from reading a Jack Welch book many, many years ago, which is that how many times in whatever bit of the business it is, does somebody come back to you and their excuse for not hitting their numbers or not performing in the way that they said they would or whatever it is because there's a competitor who is doing something irrational, strategically stupid, or however they want to present it. Oh, they're just losing money on that because and list of excuses. And so what we want is we want people to look at our business and think that. We want our competitors to look at us and say, how on earth do they do that? So if you think we sell electricals, nobody's really ever made any money out of selling electricals. It's pretty well regarded as a low margin business. We sell it on the internet. Nobody's really made any money out of selling stuff on the internet yet. So it's the most price transparent marketplace in one of the toughest categories that you can possibly imagine. And the service level in our category is, let's just say, historically low. So in a product that doesn't have any margin, in a marketplace that's extremely transparent, you're going to try and do that and deliver amazing service, which logically becomes really expensive to do because high service costs a premium. And then you're going to try and do that and make profit out of it. And that's what we do. And so, we're investing internationally what we make in the UK at the minute. But as a ratio, our business as an EBITDA level makes more than most electrical retailers have ever made. Despite that, and we provide amazing service. And I think that the best service in the world is the most profitable service in the world because you tend to pay when things go wrong. If you just get all the things to go right and invest in everything going right in the first place, then you don't have to pick up the bill for sweeping everything up behind you. So we always think about step change and structural advantage and bring all those earlier elements together to how can you create that structural advantage? How can you dream the impossible and leave competitors wondering how on earth you do it? Because if all you're going to do is do what everybody else does a bit better than they do it, you're probably not going to have a great differentiator long term. Structural advantage is number 6. Number 7 is always do the right thing. A fish rots from the head. So how you lead the business in your actions, in your words, whatever it is, in the moments that matter. So when I talk about repeating things, our strategy as a business is to be the best electrical retailer in Europe through being exceptional in the moments that matter because of an army of people that just care more. I say that hundreds of times a week. So being exceptional in the moments that matter. And everybody in our business looks for, in the moments that matter, how do you behave? Do you walk the talk? Do you really live it? And it tends to be real defining moments. And the way that we explain that to people, because everybody's judgments on what that means are different, is that if you had to go home at the end of the day and explain a situation to your mum of a decision that you took, would she be proud of the decision that you made? And if the answer's yes, then we'll suck up the cost, we'll suck up the time, we'll suck up anything else. We probably made the right decision. And everybody's metric of that will be slightly different. But equally, everybody understands what it means. So you have to be exceptional in the moments that matter, and you always have to do the right thing because everybody is always watching. And if you don't live it, people see it. Number 8 is the top 50 people. So this varies by size of business. It might be the top 5 people, but I limit it to the top 50. I reckon that any business in the world, from Walmart to us to whoever, to corner shop or whatever it is, it's limited at the top 50. Define the success or failure of that business. And actually, if you think about that as the top 10 people, they really do define it. They set the tone, they set the culture, they set the strategy of the business, and how they work together defines success and failure. So we obsess about the top 50 people in our business. How we're developing them, how are we bringing them on, how are we inspiring them, how are we getting them to work together. For me, they should always be spending at least 10, 15, maybe 20% of their time outside the business, actually just coming together as a team and working together. Because businesses that operate in silos with politics, trying to get anything done, I mean, you know, look at the mess the country's in, and lots of big corporate organizations suffer the same problems. But when you actually look at a relatively small leadership team that do come together, they can create amazing pace and amazing things. So the top 50. Number 9 is we're here as a business because we had the audacity to try and the naivety to believe in reality. We just didn't know that we couldn't, and we didn't know that we weren't meant to do what we did. And it's amazing when I talk to different people how they go, yeah, but, and well, but that's not going to work because. And so one of the things that we talk a lot about is how do we get people to just still in the business, have the audacity to just keep trying things and the naivety to believe that they can do anything at all across the business. And as we grow as a business and as we grow internationally, I was at our business in the Netherlands yesterday and I was giving them exactly the same message. There's about 25, 30 people there, and I was telling them how lucky they were because they basically are a startup business. And so this is their business, and what can they do, and how can they believe in all these things? And they need to believe they're going to be a multi-billion-pound business, because if they won't, then they don't dream about it, and we need to inject all that naivety into them. So the audacity to try, never lose it. And number 10 is that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. It is a real skill. So communication is one of the most important things in any business, in my view. And how you communicate things to people should get a huge coat of thinking about. And the skill to take a complex situation and distill it down into something that just everybody in the business just understands it. Would you make your mum proud? You get it? You know what it means. Think about how you're going to articulate it. And I love the phrase that I think it's perfection is achieved not when there's nothing left to add, but when there's nothing left to take away. So on that basis, I won't add anything else. So.
Thank you very much. I love the fact your phrase is, would you make your mum proud? In our office, it's what would the Daily Mail say? Genuinely is. Let's take some questions then. Is anybody who'd like to ask John a question at this point? Yes, the lady at the back. We'll just get a microphone to you. If you could just tell us where you're from, who you are as well.
Hi, Fiona Hornsby from Birchwood Price Tools and SME in Nottingham. My question is a bit around the how you inspire your people to think bigger and better. A little bit around the how and the culture would be helpful.
So, so on the fish rots from the head, so what I don't believe in is a democratic setting of strategy. I believe that the strategy should be set from the top. and then that should be communicated through the business. I think that, so how we go about communicating that is in lots of different ways, and getting people to understand. So the two highest scoring questions in our staff survey are, I understand the vision and values of the business is one, so I'm like, tick. And the second question is, I understand my part in the organisation. So fantastic, tick. And that is not one silver bullet. That is a drip, drip, drip of lots and lots of different things. So one of the things that we do, for example, is we have what we call what we're doing workshops. So there's one a week. And they're always sold out. And it'll just be someone from somewhere in the business that stands up in front of an audience of 60 or 70 people and explains for half an hour what they're doing. You've got to come in early for it. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. You don't get paid to come in early. You've got to be interested to do it. I think that, and then everybody gets interested. So there's a great old phrase of, you can't be interesting until you're interested. So we need to make the business interesting, and they've got to be interested in all the different areas. And the most fundamental part of that is the recruitment of the little Johnny in the first place. So we have a formula that we've learned over the years of what an AOer looks like. So you can't take a miserable, depressive individual and turn them into an AOer. It's not going to work. And so we know, so in the recruitment process of what we do, we know what they look like. And so we sort of start, the foundation is to start with the right raw materials. And if somebody fundamentally in there just cares, then you're starting from a great place. And then keep reiterating the strategy. So I do a State of the Nation every month where we take everybody in the business where we're up to. And I do that across quite a few key locations, and it takes a few days to do it. So we will beam it around the business, we will record it, but there's no substitute for personally turning up and doing it. Yesterday I was in our German head office near Cologne, butchering the mother tongue of German, because I only know one word in German, which is Bahnhof, which is a train station, which doesn't come in very handy on selling washing machines. And they love that. Half of it's incomprehensible to them, but it doesn't matter. The fact that I've gone personally to do it, the fact that I've written it and had somebody translate it into German, and the fact that I've had a go at doing it means a huge amount to them. So there's lots of different areas to it. Care about it, make it very clear you care about it, and be consistent on the message and start with the right raw materials would be a pretty good start, I would say.
Any other questions? I just want to ask one on the productivity point as well, which is, what do you think we need to do to improve productivity? What would you say as a business person?
So I would invest in people. I think that our education system is fundamentally flawed. So we talk about giving people the skills. We talk about the university education, and over the last few years there's been a huge drive to get more and more and more people into university. University, through my lens, doesn't suit everyone. It does suit some people, and it certainly suits some careers, but it doesn't suit everyone. We have a huge digital skills gap in the nation, and I don't see us doing a huge amount about it. And our economy is going to be built, I think, increasingly more around the output of quality people and talent and more digital stuff and services increasingly. And so infrastructurally, we need to set ourselves up for that. And I also think we need to look more nationally than the bubble that is London. So, you know, how do we invest in infrastructure nationally? So whether it's HS2, and I'm not a political person, so I don't particularly want to get involved in political debates, but the connectivity of northern cities is awful.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, nightmare, isn't it? But Manchester, as you know, you look at the Northern Powerhouse and some of the things that are happening that we can grow out from and we can celebrate, you know, so the things are happening. but investing in people and the infrastructure for those people to be the best that they can be on lots of levels would be a great start.
Yeah, good points. John, thank you very much. Let's give John Roberts a round of applause there. Thank you.